This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, so good morning again, everyone. Thank you all for signing in on this frigid Tuesday morning after that recent cold snap we had. First of all, I want to thank Eugenias Advisory Group for sponsoring this series in 2020 of the Finance Administration Chamber Councils. This is the last one of the year and the final one in this series. So we thank them a lot for their partnership and investment in the Chamber with this series. Today we've got Logan Green, who's a certified financial planner with Eugenias Advisory Group. You might see on the screen it says Director of Financial Planning. He actually just got promoted, so now it's Vice President of the company. So congratulations on his on that promotion there. We also have Ms. Velda Eugenias on the call. I'll give her a second in just a minute to say a few words. But today the topic is retirement plans available for small businesses. So during this, we're going to go over some retirement plan options available for small businesses and kind of how to differentiate between the variety of plans available for you too. So with no further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Velda. Velda, you want to take it away here for a second?
Absolutely. Good morning. I'm thrilled to be on the call today. Gosh, can you believe it's December 1st? I'm sure that everybody's shaking their heads. But thank you, Will. Thank you to the Chamber for allowing us to do this. And thank you for all taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. We're going to try to make this brief just because we understand what time is like, and especially right now because it's holiday time. But our firm, Eugenias Advisory Group, has been around and here in Gadsden for 12 years. We branched out in 2016 to Nashville when we acquired one of the oldest fee-only financial planning firms in the United States. We're a small boutique private wealth management firm serving a clientele, a select clientele with our focus on trying to reduce fees and taxes. And we manage about $130 million in assets. We're a registered investment advisor, and we're mandated by law to serve in a fiduciary capacity. And the way that you can kind of figure out what that means is we're paid like a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant directly by the client. And we're really, really proud to be the sponsor of the Chamber this year. This is the last of our events. We signed up to sponsor 3, and this is the last one. And we've really enjoyed the work we've done with Will. It's been so much fun. He just makes it so easy. So I want to just introduce our last speaker, and that is Logan Green, as you've heard him say. He is our newly minted Vice President of Eugenias Advisory Group. Logan is a certified financial planner professional. He oversees the financial planning and operations divisions of our company. It is one company. It is not 2 companies. It's one company with main office in Gadsden and a second office in Nashville. Logan actually is in our Nashville office, and he intended to come today to Gadsden when we scheduled this, but COVID had a different plan, as you all know. And so one of the things that we really wanted to talk about today is retirement plans available to small businesses. You may not be a business owner. I am, and I can tell you that it is very important to the employer when setting up a small business. But more important, it's important to you as an employee. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Logan to take it over and tell us all that we need to know in 40 minutes. Is that great? Thank you, Logan.
Well, thank you both very much for the introduction. Let me just see if I can go ahead and share my screen here.
And there you go.
All right. Perfect. So just want to thank everyone for joining us for the presentation today on retirement plans available for small businesses. Again, my name is Logan Green, and I'm the Vice President at Eugenias Advisory Group, as well as the Director of Financial Planning and Operations. And I want to thank the Chamber for inviting me to speak today, as well as all of our attendees for joining us. So just a quick disclosure before we get started. The content of this presentation is for educational purposes. I'm not giving tax or legal advice, and we're not making any recommendation for a particular retirement plan option. You should always consult with your trusted professionals before making any kinds of decisions or acting on the type of information that we'll cover today. So before we jump in, just a little bit more about Eugenias Advisory Group and who we are. We're an independent, fee-only, private wealth management firm, helping clients simplify, organize, and manage their financial lives. And as a firm, we recently went through a process called Find Your Why and really discovered what drives and motivates us as a company to do what we love. The result of that process was our firm's why statement, which is we work to cultivate lifelong relationships so that others experience connection, belonging, and peace of mind. We work with high net worth clients and offer investment management and comprehensive financial planning services. We also work with businesses and business owners to help establish and manage their company-sponsored retirement plans. We have two office locations, as Velda mentioned, one in Gadsden, Alabama, and one in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I'm located. But we work with clients all over the country, anywhere from Maine to Hawaii and nearly everywhere in between. So without further ado, we'll take a quick look at our agenda for today. So the topic of the presentation, again, is just retirement plans available for small businesses. So we'll look at some of the benefits of retirement plans, both from the owner's perspective as well as the employees, or the employer's perspective as well as the employee's perspective. We'll look at some different types of retirement plans, just a few of those and some comparisons, and then look at some things like some different things to consider if you're wanting to start a retirement plan for your small business. And then we have a little something extra put together just for the sake of the presentation today as well that we'll cover. So to start, I want to cover why it's important to save, some tax advantages and other incentives of retirement plan options. So the benefits of retirement plans is where we'll start. By starting a retirement savings plan, employers will help employees save for their retirement. Employer-sponsored retirement savings plans can help you attract and retain qualified employees. They also offer tax savings opportunities to your business, which is something that can become increasingly important with the uncertainty of future corporate tax rates and that sort of thing. For employers, you'll help secure your own retirement as well. You can establish a company retirement plan even if you're self-employed, which is a common misconception that we see among business owners, especially sole proprietors or self-employed individuals, which we'll look at a couple of those options as well. Some tax advantages. A retirement plan has significant tax advantages for employees and employers, so we'll take a look at some of these. Employer contributions are deductible from the employer's income. That would include contributions made on behalf of the company to an employee's retirement account. Then employee contributions, other than potential Roth contributions, which we'll talk a bit more about, are not taxed until distributed to the employee, or what we refer to as tax deferred. Money in the plan grows tax-free until withdrawn. Again, kind of going to that tax deferred component of many retirement savings plans. Now, I want to go through an example of what this looks like on the next slide. So using this example, I want to show the general benefit of saving using a retirement plan as the savings vehicle, and how the tax deferred treatment of many retirement plans can be beneficial to those contributing to them. So using this example that we have on screen, if an employee or employer is currently in their highest income earning years, let's say their effective tax rate is currently 25%, and they contribute $10,000 to a retirement plan. They otherwise would have had to pay $2,500 in taxes on that $10,000 leaving them with $7,500 to spend now or save in another savings vehicle for retirement. Now, even though this money will be taxed when they withdraw it, during retirement, they will likely not have the level of taxable income during those retirement years that they currently do during their higher income earning years while employed. So let's say during retirement, they have an effective tax rate of 15%. That means when they withdraw that same $10,000, they'll only generate a $1,500 tax liability, as you can see in the example, as opposed to the $2,500 tax liability that we mentioned by just taking that $10,000 as income. And let's take this just one step further, and let's assume that the employee in this example made that $10,000 contribution to their retirement account 10 years before retirement. And they earned an average of 6% market return from that contribution being invested over the next 10 years, taking into account compound interest. We've already mentioned the $1,000 worth of tax savings due to being in a lower tax bracket in retirement than they currently are in their high income earning years. But let's not forget that the $10,000 has also been growing tax deferred over that same time period. So now they've not only reduced their tax liability, but they've also grown that $10,000 to over $17,000, almost $18,000, assuming a 6% annual return on those funds being invested, which is again not taxable until that money is withdrawn from the plan. So the bottom line in this example, and what we really wanted to focus on, was the reduced tax liability from deferring that income until withdrawn during retirement, the tax deferred growth on that $10,000 over the course of that 10 years in this example, as well as the additional compounding that they were able to take advantage of between investing $10,000 today versus $7,500 today. So you can see several of the key benefits to saving in a retirement or a tax deferred type plan in this example. So some other incentives for a company sponsored or a tax deferred retirement plan. It's easy to establish a retirement plan that benefits you, your employees, your business, and there are additional incentives for having a plan as well. High contribution limits, so you and your employees can set aside large amounts for retirement. Catch-up rules that allow employees who are age 50 and over to set aside additional contributions. These catch-up amounts vary depending on the type of plan. And a tax credit for small employers that enables them to claim a credit for part of the ordinary and necessary costs to set up and administer the plan, up to a maximum of $500 per year for each of the first 3 years that employer establishes that small business retirement plan. And then a Roth option can be added to a 401k plan that allows participants to make after-tax contributions into separate accounts, providing an additional way to save for retirement. Distributions after age 59 and a half from Roth accounts held for at least 5 years, including earnings on those contributions, are generally tax-free when withdrawn. So taking a second to focus on Roth options, you can kind of think of Roth options in the opposite fashion as the example we went through on the last slide. For example, we generally encourage our younger clients, especially our clients' children, to contribute to a Roth. The reason for this is they're typically not in their peak earning years. So if they're currently in a lower tax bracket now than what they would anticipate to be during retirement, it might make more sense for them to go ahead and pay tax on the money when they receive it and have the ability to take tax-free withdrawals during retirement. Again, kind of taking advantage of the timing of those distributions and the timing of when that money's taxed and reducing that overall tax liability. And then not to mention the growth is also tax-free, making Roth an especially attractive savings vehicle for younger individuals. So if a company plan has a Roth component, those younger employees or the new talent that you might be wanting to attract could be especially incentivized to save in a Roth type vehicle. So now we'll just take a look at a few different retirement plan options, and there are many, many retirement plan options that we could cover. However, for the sake of time, I'll just hit the highlights of a few of these today. And if anyone's interested in more of the details or specifics of the plans we briefly look at today, or would like to discuss other types of plans, feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to do what I can to help outside of this webinar. So the first one we'll look at is a simple IRA, or a savings incentive match plan for employees. These are typically best suited for self-employed and smaller businesses with 100 or less employees. Both the employer and employee can take advantage of this type of retirement account. A few of the key points that pertain to simple IRAs in particular: the maximum employee contribution is up to $13,500, plus a $3,000 catch-up contribution for those over age 50. And from the employer's perspective, there's a non-discretionary funding component to these plans. The employer has the option to match the employee's contribution from 1% to 3% of compensation, or a 2% non-elective contribution for all eligible employees. The difference is for the matching option, the employer is only required to match the employee's contribution between 1% and 3% of compensation if the employee makes a contribution for themselves. For the non-elective option, the employer must make a contribution for all employees who are eligible to participate in the plan in the amount of 2% of each employee's compensation, even if the employee does not make a contribution for themselves. And the next plan type we'll look at is a traditional 401k, probably the most popular as far as most widely known or heard or talked about plan type. Nearly all businesses except government agencies, which I'll talk more about momentarily, are eligible to sponsor a 401k. One of the major differences here are the contribution limits that you can see on screen. You can see that the maximum contribution is up to $19,500 for an employee, and the total contribution limit to a 401k, including both employee and employer contributions, is $57,000, or $63,500 for those age 50 plus. So much greater contribution limits for this type of plan. And something I should mention again is the plan sponsor or company providing the plan has the option to add a Roth component to their 401k as well. And as I mentioned, government agencies are not eligible to sponsor 401k plans, but there's what's called a 403b for these companies. And a 403b works very similar to a 401k. The major difference between the two is that 403b retirement plans are offered to those working at certain tax-exempt or not-for-profit organizations like schools, certain educational institutions, or hospitals. Doctors' offices we see that are affiliated with hospitals typically are eligible for a 403b, while on the other hand, 401k plans are offered to employees at for-profit companies. Now, I won't go into too much detail on solo 401ks or self-employed 401ks because they have very similar rules as traditional 401ks, but these are for business owners with no employees other than a spouse. And again, this is something many sole proprietors or solo business owners are not aware of, that there are some really good tax-deferred retirement savings opportunities and plan options available to them as well. Next plan type I want to just briefly mention is a profit-sharing plan. These actually work similar to a 401k in the sense of contribution limits. However, with a profit-sharing plan, the contributions are solely made on a discretionary basis by the employer on behalf of the employee. So you can see that there are a variety of options available to businesses that want to offer a retirement plan for their employees while choosing one that's right for their particular situation or their particular business needs. So again, for the sake of time, I won't go into too much detail on this slide. I know it probably looks a bit busy on screen, but for the business owners or those trying to determine what type of retirement plan might be best suited for your business, there are several things to consider. The flow chart on screen is something similar to what can be used to help you get started in that decision-making process. Some of the things to consider are how much do you want to be able to contribute, and how much do you want your employees to be able to contribute to the plan each year? What are some of the most important things to you when evaluating a retirement plan? For example, having flexibility in plan rules for employer contributions, being able to contribute as much as you can for your own retirement savings, having a plan that's easy and simple to set up and administer. Do you want the ability to retain discretion as to how much you as the employer contributes to your employees' accounts? Are you willing to make mandatory contributions for yourself and your employees? How many employees do you have that might be eligible for that company-sponsored plan? So as you can see in the flow chart, determining what is most important and what will be most realistic for your company can lead you to a variety of different plan options. I believe that, like Will mentioned, the Chamber is going to make a recording of this presentation available on their website if this is something you'd like to reference later. And also, like I mentioned before, if you have questions that we do not have time to cover today, I'm happy to help answer or happy to help however I can as well. So as I was preparing for this presentation, I thought of a couple things. Number one, there's no way I can go through all of what's needed to know about retirement plan options available to small businesses in 30 minutes or however long we have today. And number two, that's okay, because not everyone joining us will be the owner of their business or in a position to add or change a retirement plan offered by their company anyway. In addition to that, with all that's going on in the world and COVID creating financial hardship, stress and strains in many different areas of so many people's lives, I decided we would leave it at the high level and just hit the highlights of small business retirement plan options and spend some time talking about a few items anyone who might be listening can take something away from today. So I've realized, well, let me start by saying everyone's situation is unique, and every unique situation warrants a highly personalized approach when it comes to financial planning. I've often discussed with Velda that we're in an industry where we're dealing with one of the top 3 most emotional areas in people's lives, generally being faith, family, and money. However, the longer I've worked in this field, the more I've realized that these 3 areas are not at all independent of each other. Some days, as I'm sure Velda can attest, I feel more closely related to a marriage counselor than a financial planner. So some of these items may seem like they fall into one of those other 2 categories, but they all play a unique role in your overall financial success. So number 1, pay yourself first. Develop a habit of saving and investing for retirement, even if you start with small amounts on a regular basis. If you get in a habit of paying yourself first as a non-negotiable monthly expense, you'll learn to adjust and live with what's left over. Number 2, know where your money goes. The basis of all financial planning is cash flow. You need to spend less than you make. Either increase your income or decrease your expenses. Getting a handle on where your money goes now will allow you more flexibility in the future. Don't get trapped in the mindset of saying, once I make more, I'll start saving. Then number 3, start an emergency fund. Income is not always guaranteed, as I think a lot of people have seen with all that's gone on recently. Income's not always guaranteed. Plan for the unforeseen and protect against the unknown. A general rule of thumb is to save 3 months of non-discretionary expenses for dual income households, or 6 months of non-discretionary expenses for single income households. Number 4, control your finances. Do not let them control you. This starts with understanding your own financial situation. Very few people in the world have the luxury of not having to worry about money at all. So take control of your finances, understand your own financial picture, and get to a place where you're prepared to make decisions and face problems head on as they arise. Number 5, you'll not find self-worth from your net worth. I think this one is something that it may be worded in a different way that people hear all the time, but it's just an important reminder that you will not find self-worth from your net worth. Money itself will never make you happy. While it's an important means of security, all of our true value comes from elsewhere. And number 6, set goals. That includes personal, professional, financial. Spend time thinking about what you want to accomplish, who you want to be, what's most important to you. What do you want from your life? Think about these things, come up with answers, write them down, draw them out, whatever it takes. Just be the architect of your own life. And that starts with setting goals. Number 7, protect your wealth. Take measures to ensure your hard-earned money doesn't vanish. This can take shape through a variety of avenues, whether it be long-term care insurance, trusts, making sure your estate documents are up to date, very important one, or something as simple as creating a budget. Then the next item we have is change the way you think about your age. Don't be insecure about your age, whatever age you might be. The ability to make a difference is not bound by how old or young you are. That's just a self-inflicted limitation that has no basis in reality. Remember, you're the oldest you've ever been and the youngest you'll ever be. And number 9, become aware of what drives you. I highly recommend Simon Sinek's book, Find Your Why, that I mentioned a little bit at the beginning that we did as a company. The idea around the process of finding your why is to understand what truly motivates and inspires you, to understand what gets you out of bed in the morning. So take time to reflect and understand what truly drives you and become aware of your own core values. And number 10, focus on your health, energy, and well-being. I think this is especially important right now. Invest in yourself. You are your best asset. The more you can invest in yourself, the more valuable the asset becomes. This includes, but is not limited to, things like education, reading, personal development programs, exercise, meditation, whatever gives you the energy to become the best version of yourself. Learn a skill before you need that skill. So just, again, just a handful of bullet points here that I thought, no matter who was joining us today, just something that everyone might be able to take a little bit of something away from. And I think we are at the 30-minute point, so I wanted to leave just a bit of time. Again, I know I took a little bit of extra time here toward the end to cover some things outside of our topic, or out of our main topic for the presentation, but just wanted to make sure that we were covering a little bit of something for everyone. And again, if you have additional questions or questions on where you might be able to find resources, in particular for retirement plans available for small businesses, or how to get started on determining which one might be best for your particular business, feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to discuss that outside of the webinar, and we can set up a call or whatever works best. So with that being said, I will just give some time here for any questions, if there are any that anyone might have.
Yeah, great presentation, Logan. Thank you for taking the time to do that today for us. As mentioned earlier, if you guys have any questions, comments, put those in the chat. I think I have a small enough group that we can actually allow, if you want to unmute yourself, ask a question, feel free to. There is a post in the chat right there for you all. This was recorded. and it'll be posted here after a while as soon as I'm able to finish processing the video and download that. But we'll give a few minutes. If you guys have questions, feel free. All right, well, I don't see any questions, so I guess that's a wrap then. So you can see Logan's contact information there, their information. If you guys don't have time to jot that down or haven't seen the email address, you can always call the chamber here and ask me, or just shoot me an email. We've got that contact, I have the information here on hand if you guys need that. But thank you again to Eugenias Advisory Group for sponsoring this year's set of the Finance Administration Chamber Councils. Velda, if you'd like to say a few words before we officially wrap up, feel free to. I'll give you a second to unmute if you want to.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Logan. I thought that was very, very good information. Thank you, Will, for allowing us to kind of think out of the box a little bit as Logan was thinking about where to go with this. COVID has really changed our world, and we all feel it. And so I think the bullet points that Logan brought to the table there at the end, they really resonated with me. I hope they resonated with you, because money is not everything that's important to us, although we all need it. So it was really good to hear all those things. And you've motivated me, Logan, so I think I'm going to do better. But I want to thank you all for attending, and I pray you'll have a very happy holiday, and most importantly, continue to stay safe. And thank you, Will.
Yeah, thank you, Velda. And you're right. Stay safe, stay healthy. It's crazy times we're living in. So thank you again to Eugenias Advisory Group. Logan, do you have any closing notes you'd like to mention, or?
I just want to thank again the Chamber for having me, and to everyone who joined us. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find us online at eagwealth.com or give us a call at the numbers listed on the screen. And like Will mentioned, I think he has all of our individual contact information as well. So feel free to just get a hold of us if you have any follow-up questions at all, or if there's anything we can do to help. I appreciate everyone's time.
Fantastic. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. I'll go ahead and cut this recording off then.